our commission. And so I just wanted to start by talking about the importance of public service and what that means in Columbus. And so in Columbus, public service, the Department of Public Service, is responsible for the city's transportation. They're responsible for all of the city's streets. And that means they're responsible for how people get to where they're going, whether it be to work, to access services, parks, schools, whatever it may be. And so it means making sure that everybody can get to where they're going, no matter how they're getting there. And so on the Southside Area Commission, for us, that has meant focusing on those walking, biking, and taking transit, because in Columbus, that tends to be the most challenging modes of transportation. And so for the past several years, we've been really focused on that and made that a priority within our commission and our committee. And so we've been really excited to see all the work that's being done at the city, including initiatives like Link Us, Vision Zero, and Bike Plus. And also we're excited to see that as part of Bike Plus, a couple streets on the south side were included as near-term connections, Freebus Avenue and South High Street. So we're really excited about that in the future, within the next few years and going forward. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Vice Chair of the Far South Columbus Area Commission, because we're stronger together on the south side.
Yes, we are. Thank you so much. Good evening, everybody. Good to see everyone again. So I wanted to, first of all, just talk quickly about, obviously tonight we have Council Member Lourdes Barroso de Padilla, and she is our district council member. And I wanted to make sure that, we come to these meetings, we have a lot of concerns, a lot of things we want. I always say when we have the public departments or the city department fairs, there isn't a table that doesn't have a need that we need, right? We need something, you name the department, we have a need for in Far South. However, so tonight I want to make sure before we do the breakout sessions and kind of start advocating for our community, that everyone is aware of some of the things that we've already gotten very, very recently. So I went back 5 or 6 years, and I went back 5 or 6 years because we all remember 5 years ago. So I feel like time stopped in 2020, right? So a year before that, we actually had quite a bit going on. But just real quick, wanted to name a few things. The former Indian Mound Recreation remodel and expansion, that was 12,000 square feet. It is now 49,000 square feet. That was huge. And just to give you an idea, that started, I think it was a 3-year process. It opened, sadly, literally in March of 2020. So we finally got to enjoy it in 21. But did want to mention that was $89 million expansion there. Marion Franklin had a bath, their pool bath house, I should say, was completely revamped back in 19, as well as additional lighting around the basketball courts behind the center itself, and some lighting to help with the walking path. Benches were just added to the walking path in the last 6 months or so. So I wanted to just mention that. And of course, the Ziegler Road Sewer project, I don't think too many folks on Ziegler will ever forget it. That was huge, and it seemed to last forever, but it was a big project, and obviously now everybody can flush their toilets and run their garbage disposals and live life as normal, right? Over $300,000 in streetlight repairs. So these aren't even new streetlights. These are just maintaining streetlights. Just last week, Councilmember Barroso de Padilla motioned for, and it was passed by council, unanimous, obviously, passage, the Deering Road and High Street curb and lighting upgrade. So that's huge, as you all know, for any traffic going out onto High Street. So that's going to be huge. 1.3 mil, I believe, is the initial cost of that project. So you were also incremental with the Williams Road and Parsons light update, traffic light update. That is a scary intersection, very busy intersection, so we appreciate that as well. And then, of course, we have sidewalks on Parsons, sidewalks on Williams Road from High Street to Parsons. That was huge. Southgate received sidewalks. Watkins Road sidewalks were an update. And just so you all know, 2 miles of sidewalks is $1 million. So it goes quick. So coming soon is sidewalks on Clearfield and Ogmont in the Marion Franklin Southfield community. And then projects that have been approved in a partnership with the mayor's office and council approved through the capital budget vote. Marion Franklin will have a new pool coming the end of this season. They'll be opening up a brand new pool. Mr. Patterson tells me it's Olympic size and bigger than the one at Livingston Avenue. That's what they told him, and that's what he's telling me. Okay, $1 million in repairs and updates to the Marion Franklin Community Center. $1 million towards the new library on Lockbourne Road. Obviously, Columbus Metropolitan had some funding involved, but the city of Columbus, added $1 million to that budget. And that will include some updates to the streetscape, too. I don't know if Commissioner Smith is here, but she's been working very hard on the Lockbourne streetscape. Let's see. We are also getting a crosswalk signal, and I saw one on High Street, and at first I was like, is that enough? But I saw one on High Street in the Marion Village area, and you know what? It does get your attention. It makes you slow down, look for pedestrians. This one is going to be on Obetz Road, so where the Scioto Village community living is, to cross the street to go over to the park at the rec center. So just that flashing pedestrian crosswalk light there, that'll be huge. That'll be a big help. So I also brought I also brought a list along that I'm going to just put in the back of the room if you want to take a gander. So it's everything in the last 10 years that have been approved or we have gotten accomplished. But I just wanted to say tonight that, getting an opportunity to partner with our district council member, any district, any council member, anytime a department is coming, anytime a city employee is coming to the community, make every effort to get here because we can't advocate enough for our community. So I'm going to wrap this up. So we welcome Council Member Lourdes Barroso de Padilla. Thank you so much for coming.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone, or good evening. Good evening now, yeah, maybe. I am Councilmember Lourdes Barroso de Padilla. So I want to first introduce myself, tell you a little bit about who I am, and then we are going to give you a little information on the district. After we do that, we have 3 presentations tonight, and I'll talk about what those are. And then after those presentations, what we're going to do is we're actually going to do something a little different. So this event, usually we do town halls where folks ask lots of questions, or folks have, sometimes what I find is that 1 or 2 people get to ask a question. Maybe your question doesn't get answered. You want to have a conversation with folks. Sometimes we do these council community meetings where folks have a conversation, but if someone's having a conversation with me, it lasts maybe 10 minutes. You have to wait 20, right? We don't always get the answers that you need. So we're doing something a little different tonight. After the presentations that you see up here, you see on around the room, we have note cards. Write down your questions, and we're going to collect those. But we're going to actually have breakouts that Becky talked about. You're going to have an opportunity to go and talk to a specific, hey, Mama Diggs, you're going to have an opportunity to go and talk to the different departments that are going to do presentations. So if you have a specific question, you want to talk about a roadway project, you want to talk about something that's happening, the new pool, is it really Olympic size? You want to talk about COAAA and some of their resources, you have the opportunity to do that tonight, right? So it's a little bit of a different setup. We also have some surveys out. We want to hear if you like this, because our hope is that we continue to do this. So a little bit about me. I am first-generation American. My parents came from Cuba to almost directly to Columbus, Ohio. They've always lived on the east side since the 70s, before I was born. So we lived first in what was Beverly Manor, later Greenbrier, now where Afrocentric is, across from DCSC. That was our first apartment. Then we moved close to Whitehall, and then into the house that my mother still owned. She recently passed away, but that's still my family house. 6 houses away from Eastmore High School. I'm a Columbus kid through and through, so I grew up going to Columbus City schools, going through our rec centers, both Barnett, Driving Park. And then when I graduated from high school, I joined an organization called City Year. City Year is a education-focused nonprofit. We used to work we were at South High School for many, many years, and I actually started my career here on the South Side, turning an old church into a community center. And so I've worked with the organization for the past 30 years. I still work with them today. Had the opportunity to move to the East Coast for a while, move back, and when we first moved back, me and my husband, we moved to the South Side. I lived in Marion Village for 11 years. We had our 2 daughters. unfortunately got priced out of Marion Village and moved back to be closer to my parents who were aging in place. So now I live in the same neighborhood that I grew up in. So that's a little bit about me. I want to talk to you a little bit about District 8. So I've been on council 4 years. This is my second term. This is going on the second year of this district model that we have now, right? So for the way the district works is that we have representation in 9 districts across the city. There's 100,001 residents that live in each and every district, right? And so the districts look like this, and I know it's probably hard to see because the screen is a little smaller than we would love, but if you look on the left side, that's what all of the districts look like, right? So if you look at that blue, very light blue, that's District 8. That's our district. District 8, if you notice, is the largest district in terms of land size, in terms of land mass, right? We have the same population as every other district, but if you look at some of them, they're pretty small, right? So it tells you a couple things about District 8, and I want to talk about where District 8, what that looks like and what the boundaries are. So if you look on the right-hand side, that's District 8. It's essentially the southeast portion of the city. So the south side's kind of split up a little bit between District 7, that's Councilmember Beatty, District 8, that's us, and then District 9, which is Council President. We go from essentially that little sliver where I live, right, from like Bexley, so Rural Avenue in Bexley. We go that section of Whitehall, we go all the way down to Noe-Bixby, roughly. From Noe-Bixby, we swing way down into Lockbourne, all the way down into Lockbourne. We go back up through Driving Park and then back up through Bexley, right? Part of the reason that our district is so large, if you think of the southernmost portion of the district, there used to be a lot of manufacturing, right? One of my dad's first jobs was at Buckeye Steel. He was a steel worker. He was a union guy at Buckeye Steel. And when those jobs went away, we see that the density in other parts, like if you go to Clintonville, the houses are a lot closer together, right? If you come down south, what do you see? Houses are a little further apart, right? Folks have more land. So the district looks a little bit different. And the district is going to continue to look like that. I bet in 5 years, when we look at our population growth, when we think about expanding, we think about growing by 1 million, 2 million people, right? The districts are probably going to look a little bit different. And we already see that happening in the South Side. We see some development coming to the South Side, some large apartments, another development that's coming. This is another portion, just another way to look at the district. I thought it would be interesting to look a little bit about the demographics. Now remember, this is the southeast portion. This isn't just the South Side, right? But you can start to see, especially when we look at the Latino, Asian, and even the Black population, that is what is driving our growth. And we know this is immigrants, migrants, and refugees, right? It changes our city. We are looking at how the city is changing and what opportunities that creates for all of us, right? It's the culture, it's the diversity, it's the vibrancy, it's the art, it's the things that we like to see in the city. The median income of the district is about $60,000. That looks a little bit different depending upon what neighborhood you're talking about and where you're talking about in the city, but that's the median income. And then we look at home ownership. So about 70% of the people who live throughout the district own their homes, right? Or own a condo. They have some sort of home ownership, right? And they've lived in their homes 10 plus years. So that tells us a couple different things. That tells us that we have folks who, you know, if you think about some of our neighborhoods, they are people who are inheriting houses, like I did from my parents, right? We have people who have stayed in their homes for a really long time who are aging in place. Our communities look a little bit different. These are legacy communities where folks have been for a long, long time, right? How many of you, I think about my sisters who graduated from Eastmore 10 and 15 years before I did, right? How many of you went to the school that your parents went to, or your aunts and uncles went to, or other people went to, or might be living in the house of a relative, right? That's what this tells us a little bit about. So I thought it would be interesting for us to talk about that because that way we know a little bit about who lives in our district and what our district looks like. The reason when we talked about this evening, I did not want to put all of the folks from District 8 in one space because I realized that the city just looks different. Even the South Side looks different. I could have done 4 or 5 of these depending upon where we're talking about in the South Side, right? I could have done the same thing on the east side. We know that our neighborhoods are not a monolith. So we separated it. Last week, we met with the east side. We said everybody east of Livingston, right? Or I'm sorry, not east of Livingston, but we said everybody from essentially Bexley to Noe-Bixby. We did the same sort of meeting that we're doing today with specific things about the east side. And then for the south side, we said everybody south of Livingston, right? To make it kind of easy for folks to understand where they are. What we wanted to do was that I realized that a lot of times when we're having conversations with folks, we're not always equipping our communities with what is coming up next. What's the thing that we're working on, right? So in public service, we could have a big roadway project coming up, and folks don't know about it until you see the cones come out on the street, right? You could have had meetings about the community pool, but you didn't hear about it, so now you don't even know that it's coming. Or there's other resources that are out there that folks might be calling us and saying, hey, how can we get this resource for my family, for my loved one, for my community, when those resources exist. So how do we start a conversation so that we can really be partners together in the good things that are coming up next? So that's why we started tonight a little bit differently. This isn't going to be like the regular town halls that we've done or the engagements that we've done before. This is going to be an opportunity for the departments and the other folks who are up here to say, hey, here's the things that's coming up. Here's how we think about projects. Here's the good things that are coming. And then when you go into those breakouts, you can have that dialogue with them about, let's talk about that a little bit more. Let's talk about that resurfacing project. Is there something else we can do? Are we adding bike lanes? Can we add bike lanes? Can you tell me a little bit more about those, the big pedestrian crossings that you're talking about, Becky, right? How do those work? Where you can have more of that one-on-one engagement and conversation so that as things come down the pike, we can really partner together. We also made sure that we invited some of our partners. This is the first year we're doing this. Our hope is that this is going to grow, that every year we can have more of our partners, that we can have childcare at some of these so that some of our friends and neighbors who have kids and are looking for, don't want to bring them to this, right? That they have a place for their kids to go so that they can be part of this conversation and that they also know the resources that are available to them too. So, while the presentations will be about 5 to 10 minutes, after those presentations, folks can head into the breakouts. And then after those breakouts, you're free. If you're like, hey, I really want to talk to public service, I don't want to go to the other breakouts, that's cool. Thank you so much for coming. If you want to go to 2 of the breakouts, that's also cool. Please do that. But make sure that you get the information that you want tonight. I'm going to be hanging out tonight. I'm not one of the breakouts officially, but I will certainly be in this area. If folks want to come to me and talk to me directly about something or you have a question for me, please do that. I'm going to move us, though, because I want to make sure that we get to the presentation. So if folks want to come afterwards. Remember that these note cards are here, so you can write down your questions. So as you go into those breakouts, we can make sure that we tick down the list so that everybody gets an opportunity to get their question, their wonder answered, and that you get an opportunity to engage with all the folks who are here. So with that, I'm going to introduce, I chair public service. I think we might have said that at the beginning. That's how we move in the city, whether you're on 2 wheels, 4 wheels, if you're moving in a mobility device or on feet, how do you move in the city? And so our greatest partner, my greatest partner, the department that I chair, is public service. So I am happy to hand over the floor now to our public service department. So from public service, please welcome Assistant Director Randy Bornstrecker.
Thank you. All right. This is slide down. There we go. Okay. I'm Randy Bornstrecker, the Deputy Director over at the Department of Public Service in Columbus. And so what is that, right? That's kind of a broad name. A lot of people in other cities call it public works or something like that. But public service has 5 different divisions, as well as some major initiatives attached with it. Mostly what we're going to talk about tonight is probably transportation and infrastructure, but we also have our refuse collection underneath the department. We have our different division of traffic, which is all your signals and lights and street markings and stop sign, like the signage, things like that. Infrastructure management, those are the folks that plow your roads, that take care of the potholes, that do your day-to-day maintenance on your city streets, as well as plan for what are those next infrastructure improvements that our design and construction division will do. And our design and construction are the engineering kind of folks that will plan your roadway projects, will then manage those roadway projects with the contractors that we're using. They'll also do testing of the roadways, like we take cores from the roadways and make sure that our contractors are using the specifications that we want them to make sure that our roads don't degrade, those type of things. And we also have our mobility division, which does everything from to manage the scooter fleet that's out there. And that also does our parking, so the Park Columbus app and where we need permit parking, if we're seeing density issues, those type of things. Not such a huge presence here in District 8, but if you go downtown, you can understand some of the reasons that, like, an area that has a lot of density, a lot of foot traffic, a lot of places that you might need to encourage turnover or people to move to an off-street location, or, basically you need to provide access for all residents. So trying to find that parking spot downtown, that means that you have to have the parking meters and the officers to make sure that it's not all parked up when you get there, that there might be a way for you to park and access those locations. So that all kind of falls within our division, which means that one of the largest footprints for everyday life for our residents, right? If it's below ground, you can talk to my friends at the Columbus Division of Water and Power. Those type of things we might build, but we don't maintain many times, like the street lighting, things like that. So you'll see street lighting in our projects. But for the maintenance of those street lights, that's our friends over at the Department of Water and Power, which used to be called Department of Public Utilities, so they can talk more about that. But we work hand in hand with all of our other brother and sister departments. So that being said, we went over a lot of the demographics of the city. For us, that means that in this area, we have 37 miles of what we call high injury network. Now, this is part, the commissioner kind of brought up Vision Zero, and I'll talk more about Vision Zero in a bit. But basically what that means is that with a number of factors, we concluded what is your high injury network? What are the 10% of city streets that 60% of our serious injuries and deaths are happening on? And how can we focus resources on those areas that are contributing to about 70 deaths and fatalities on our roadways? Columbus roadways, not 270, 71, our roadways that we control at the city, right? ODOT and the state control a lot of those highways. We control your residential streets, right? And so what we found is that by concentrating resources along the most dangerous areas, you can really have an impact. So you have 37 miles of high injury network streets in District 8. 34% of what we call communities of interest. Those are the socioeconomic factors that I'll talk about later that have a high correlation to death on our roadways, right? That's everything from your likelihood to own a vehicle, because if you're not, you're walking more, right? You might be using different modes of transportation that makes you a vulnerable road user, right? And over 50% of the deaths we see on Columbus roadways are people that are not in the safe enclosure of a car. They're the ones that are crossing the street. Every one of us is a pedestrian at some point, right? The most dangerous place you can be is on the side of a roadway, on a fast 45-mile-an-hour roadway with no sidewalks or place for you to go, right? And that's where we're seeing a lot of problems. So talking a little bit more about the district itself, we have about 407 roadway miles, and this is a large district, right? So that's, you go to Cleveland to Cincinnati, you're not even at 400 miles, right? So there's a lot of roadway miles here. We have over 100 signalized intersections in this district, 400 curb miles, over 6,000 ADA curb ramps, so everyone can get around on the networks that we do have, over 15,000 signs that we maintain, and 45 miles of fiber, 27 bridges, 2,100 pavement markings, and over 300 miles of sidewalks in this district alone, right? So how do we get information from you? I mean, you can call the council member, and that's certainly one way. But our work order system and most of our department, what we respond to immediately is the 311 service center, right? So I can't be more, like, if you take one takeaway outside of just asking me questions later, those type of things, use the 311 service center. That's columbus.gov/311. You can call 645-31111. But in this particular district, dead animals is the number one, outside of, like, you missed my trash pickup or something like that. Dead animals is the number one that we get in this district, right? So collection from street trash and debris along your roadway system, that's another big one. But if we, I don't know if we have Q&A time or not, but.
I was referring to the entire District 8.
Yeah, entire District 8. I couldn't cut the numbers by just the south side, but I can probably do that if you have a specific, like, roadway or something. But if I don't know about it, right, we have investigators that drive our roadways, and our trash collection folks, our refuse drivers, are the only city working division that visits every residential house every week, right? So we try to collect that through various means, but we need to know, right? Or if you see that type of thing, if we don't know about it, we can't send the folks out to get it, right? Potholes on city streets, that's your third most. Again, be our eyes and ears. Our average of filling a pothole is within 48 hours. But if we don't know about it, I can't fill it, right? So if it's sitting there for a week, like, I can't get there. So we do rove and we do those things, but you're gonna see it way quicker than we are just by driving it. So I do encourage you, put it in the 311. We usually can solve it within 48 hours if it's not like a sinkhole or larger problem where we have to do an entire, like, cut and bigger scrape of it, right? Conditions of the streets. This is where people are letting us know where they're feeling that the streets are in bad condition. This is a direct correlation, goes into our math when we're talking about road resurfacing. So if we get to a road resurfacing project, there's 2 equal pavement conditions, but one has 20 requests because our residents are telling us it's an issue. We also have the area commission that made it a priority. We also have the council member that's hearing from people at budget request meetings, things like that. That's how we're going to have to develop those prioritizations. We can't be everywhere, but we can be a lot of places with the right information. And then traffic signal operation or maintenance issues. The roadway pavement conditions for such a large area is, we're getting there. We got about 14% of our roadways that are, when we do yearly a pavement assessment, pavement condition report. 14% are excellent. Good's about 35%. Fair's a little bit over a third. When you're starting to see poor and very poor, those are going to be prioritized for the resurfacing program, right? So that's how we kind of get there, plus all the other conditions that I talked about with the 301 and others. Your bridges are in good conditions, about 96% good. Pavement, generally pretty good. Sidewalks, we got work to do. Sidewalks, the conditions are generally up to the resident. And if we see deterioration, that's usually there. But if we have a roadway project, a lot of times we just go ahead and fix those as part of it. Or if it's a city tree that's causing that damage, it goes on the list and we try to fix that as well. and our pavement marks are generally good. So the infrastructure is generally fair to good. It can be better. And so our projects that we're having right now, and I'll talk a little bit about them, and I have fact sheets for most of them, if not all of them, that we can, if you want to have a specific one that you want. I pulled these specifically for the southern side of the district, and I feel like the commissioners before me kind of talked a lot about these, so I'm kind of repeating a little bit of information. But right now, we're expecting completion in the fall of traffic signals at Lockbourne and Obitz, with expected completion of basically this construction season in the fall. We also have the South High Street and Daring Avenue signal replacements that the commissioner referenced earlier. That was just passed to get us going on that on June 2nd. And so that'll be a large project that we'll finish up, basically 2 construction seasons for that project with all the delays on some of the materials. But that'll do new signage, pavement markings, light modifications, and an upgraded traffic signals that show like the reflective backing that shows better up at night, and will add a safety element to hopefully stop a lot of the inadvertent running of red lights and things like that. Now, your projects in design, there's a lot of, I think, really exciting projects that are in design. We have streetscape improvements from Watkins Road to State Route 104, and this is in the design phase. So we're not quite ready to bring it forward for construction, but we're working on this project, and you're going to see us reaching out to neighborhood leaders and others about how this project actually comes along. So it'll install landscape medians and landscaping on that State Route 104 interchange, street trees along the corridor, and other improvements. The Williams Road corridor, I think everyone's probably been down Williams Road in this room. You know the struggles with the railroads being stopped and backed up and other things out that huge east-west corridor. We were very, very close to a federal grant to help out with this. Asked for $10 million just during the Biden administration, and we're going back to see if we can get additional grant dollars. But in the meantime, trying to fund that construction, we're moving ahead with the design of that, and that would be from the Scioto River all the way to Hamilton. So that's in preliminary engineering right now, but we're really excited about that. That will include a separate space, like a shared use path for walkers and bicyclists that will connect different metro parks as well as High Street with others, and really provide a great mobility option, hopefully separate that grade for the railroad so you don't have that backup, and we can actually add CODA service because it'll be a functioning roadway, right, without all those delays. We have 2 crosswalk safety improvements that are going to be across the district, everywhere from 11 locations on Parsons and Harlan's. I'm trying to find some other locations here, like High Street in Hinman, Champion Avenue and Thurman. So a variety of different areas throughout. They'll include curb extensions and push button signals with flashing lights, as well they may include some island medians. So like if you're crossing the street, you have a refuge to go to for that car traffic, so you can stop and safely pass like 1 lane or 2 lanes and not 4 lanes of traffic. And then the High Street and Obitz Road is in planning, and that's going to improve safety by upgrading the signals and extending that southbound left turn lane and restriping and other safety improvements. And then from the Bike Plus plan that the commissioner was talking about earlier, we're looking at those protected bike lanes on Phoebus Avenue from Lockbourne to Alum Creek Drive, as well as a Three Creeks connector, which is a shared use path connecting Three Creeks Metro Park with Obitz Memorial Park, which is in the vicinity of the area. All told, this year alone, we have about $24 million of capital investments that are either in design or, sorry, I can barely see anymore on after a certain age, right? So we have about $24 million of capital improvement projects that are in construction or design right now, just in District 8. That includes the about $4 million of maintenance that we're doing this year for total investments of about $28 million from this department. And I think that'll only increase as some of the Link Us dollars comes flowing back through our department to do more roadway type of projects for safer pedestrian and cycling and all those type of things. About 12 currently in planning. We have about 20 projects currently in design, 21 projects currently in construction in some area in District 8. So let me tell you a little bit about what's driving the philosophy at this point. And I don't know if I'm probably taking more than 5 minutes, so I apologize. So Vision Zero. We talked a little bit about Vision Zero when the commissioners did earlier. Vision Zero is simply, we had 70 deaths on our roadways. One's too many. We need to get to zero. There hasn't been a single month in Columbus since we built the city for cars that we've had zero pedestrian and or any deaths, I should say, not just pedestrians, on our roadways. There hasn't been 1 month. Last May, we got to 1. We were so close, right? One's too many, though. We need to get to zero. So we need to approach traffic safety, not to a sideswipe, but we need to focus on serious injuries and fatalities. So that's the dramatic change in kind of thinking, looking at those high injury networks, those type of things. And recognizing that traffic violence isn't acceptable. It's not an accident. It's not an oopsie. We don't call things airplane accidents. They're crashes. They're preventable, right? Someone made a mistake. Somebody did something that caused a crash. Now, is it just a personal responsibility issue? No, it's a system issue, right? Just because I'm crossing the street and somebody in a car hits me, it shouldn't be a death penalty to cross the street. I don't care if you're jaywalking or not, right? It's a system issue, right? There's something upstream. What's causing that person to cross the street there? You know, is there a Coda bus stop with an apartment complex on the other side, but no crosswalk or no median or something in their system? It's policy level decisions, right? So we have to accommodate human error. And we have to keep the impacts, because we're never going to probably get to a crash-free society. What we need to get is to ending serious injuries and fatalities on our roadways. So we need to keep those impacts at a level that the human body can tolerate. If you are hit with 20 miles an hour or below, like a car or a vehicle hits you, and they're going lower than 20, you have a 90% chance of surviving. If you get hit at 40 miles an hour, which is only 5 miles an hour over the average speed limit in Columbus, you have a 10%, or I should say you have a 90% of surviving at 20 or under miles per hour. You have a 10% chance of surviving if you're hit at 40 miles an hour. It's a dramatic difference. Speed is the number one indicator of serious and fatal crashes. So we need a community-led conversation. It starts with these type of conversations, right? We need safer roads, the built environment. That's my department. That's what we're focused on. Vision Zero is housed in my department, but it's a citywide initiative. We need post-crash care. If you are in a traffic crash, how quick can that ambulance get to you? What do they have? How quick can they know exactly what you need, right? We need safer people. That means, what are those mental health services? What can public health give you, right? What is, why are we driving intoxicated? Why are we distracted driving, right? Those type of behavioral issues. We need public health to tackle that. And above all, we need you. We need that partnership, right? We need you to understand that it's not just everybody else doing this. We all can be better drivers. We can look out. We can advocate for safer conditions, right? So it's an entire system-wide approach. And we use data to help inform that, right? So What's transformed, I've been at the department for about 6 years. One of the biggest transformations is the use of data as a critical driver of our safety. We look at who is the most impacted by crashes, where were they, right? Which intervention is the most effective, right? So you're going to start seeing things on your roadways that might be a little bit different than you had before. You're going to see a light that stays red a little bit longer so that a pedestrian can get about a fourth to a halfway through that intersection when they're crossing the street. Why is that? Well, studies have shown that you can see them dramatically different when people start taking those left-hand turns if somebody's already walking there, right? So they're called LPIs. You start seeing those more. The commissioner was talking, excuse me. The commissioner was talking a little bit about those rapid flashing beacons that you hit when you're crossing the street. Effective ways of letting traffic know that this is going to be used to cross the street and it's not just somebody walking out in traffic, right? Bump outs. A lot of people don't understand what a bump out is. It's a curb extension. Well, if you have a wide open 4-lane, 45-mile-an-hour roadway, if you can visually narrow that roadway, if it doesn't look like a freeway, people aren't going to drive like a freeway. During COVID, speeds went up because there were less people on the roadway and it felt wider and people could just drive faster, right? So in a way, if I can visually narrow it, and this is also what we call road diets or lane reconfigurations. If the traffic study shows that you don't need 4 lanes, I can get away with 2 with the middle turn lane in both directions, you're going to significantly impact. On Livingston Avenue, we narrowed those roadways with striping, and everyone might not love it, but excessive speeding dropped by 70%. Those are people that were going over 55 miles an hour on a 35-mile-an-hour roadway. That's a significant safety improvement, right? And so those are the conversations that we're going to have with the community as we're trying to put these in to show you why this matters and how can we have your support. And also, we need an equitable transportation system. You're 10 times more likely to die in a vehicle crash if you're African American than white. Shocking, right? We have to concentrate on communities where we know the crashes are happening. Those are those high injury networks. Those are areas of persistent poverty. Those are areas where people don't speak English as much, or they have a higher likelihood as a second language. Those are areas where you have less vehicle ownership, so you have more people on walking and biking and taking transit, right? So that's where you're going to see us focusing a lot of those efforts. And that's why we're bringing the safety improvements first and not so much throughput and how can I get you from point A to point B. Sorry, it is my time. So for more information on Vision Zero, you can go to columbus.gov/Vision Zero. I also, some would call me, I evangelicize Vision Zero. I will be back there to talk your ear off about it. But I also brought fact sheets for all of our transportation projects, as well as the project manager's contact information to get you more information, and if I can't answer those questions. So thank you. Sorry I went over.
Thank you, Randy. And as we said, we're going to have breakouts so folks can have an opportunity to come in. And if there are specific questions that you have about the presentation or other things, other concerns that you have, you'll have the opportunity to go and speak to Randy and have a smaller group conversation, or again, write down those questions so that then he can answer those. Next up, I'm excited to introduce, we all love our incredible rec and park system and all of the ways that it makes the community, etc., the ways that it makes it accessible for not just our kids, but for every member of our community to come in, to move their bodies, to stay healthy, to build community. And so I'm excited to introduce Alex Gray to talk a little bit about what's up next with Rec and Parks.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thanks for coming out and hanging out with us. So my name, like the council member said, is Alex Graham with the Department of Recreation and Parks, and I work with the community relations team. So we do a lot of, like the name suggests, we do a lot of out and about in the community at events, just talking to people about all things recreation and parks. So I've been charged a bit with trying to move quickly, so I'm going to try to do that, but still give you the gist of really everything rec and parks. So the first thing that I want to talk about is this slide up here. You probably can't see it really well, but it really was intended to highlight within District 8 just all the things, all the facilities. So the parks, of which there are 46 of them, and then also community centers. So within District 8, there are 6 community centers. Some of these things you probably already know already, some of the things that I'm going to talk about. But again, it's all about awareness, right? So just making sure that everybody's on the same page. So 46 parks in District 8 and 6 community centers. You can, again, I'm not sure how well you can see this and have been charged with moving a little bit quickly, so I'm going to just go over this just really briefly. But at different community centers, there are obviously different facilities to a certain extent. So some community centers have pools, right? Marion Franklin, Barrett Community Center, some have fitness centers. So you can go in, you can lift weights, or you can go in the cardio room and do those types of workouts. So fitness centers, pools, and then also, for example, like Scioto Southland Community Center, they have a spray ground. So and I'm going to talk a little bit at the end of the presentation too about upcoming projects, but this part I'm going through a little bit more quickly. So at all the community centers, there are all sorts of different offerings. So I always tell people if we've got something for everybody. So there's art classes, there's sports leagues, music classes, theater, all sorts of things. I always tell people the best thing to do is just hop on our website and just take a look at what programming is offered at each community center to see if you're interested in it. One thing that people maybe know a little bit less about are our Schools Out program. So this is during the fall, winter, and the spring. This is basically where community centers, they have extended hours to coincide with the fall break, the winter break, and the spring break for Columbus City Schools. Summer camps, we just started those actually this week, so they run from June 9th until August 1st. We also have free after-school programs during the school year, obviously. Late night basketball, so the two community centers that are closest to here, for those who would be Driving Park and Marion Franklin. So this is an initiative that's kind of new this summer. It's an opportunity for people to go to play basketball really late at night, have a sense of community. So those ranges are from 12 to all the way to 30. And there's more information on our website about what ages play when. But again, it's from ages 12 to 30. They're split up into 3 different groups. And then the time range is from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. And again, there are 3 different time slots for the 3 different age groups. Mobile produce markets, we have those at several community centers as well. And then Walk with a Doc, this is for our 50-plus crowd to go out and get some exercise, have a good sense of community. So again, 46 parks around District 8. At each of the community centers, a lot of different sports leagues, so definitely check those out if you're interested. National Night Out, so this happens, I think it's the first Tuesday of every year. So this year that's going to be, or we'll have an installment or a chapter of that at Marion Franklin on August 5th. And then a few of the big events that we have coming up are Cap City Festival. This is where everything's free, so free music, free activities, free food. Cap City Festival at Barrett Community Center on August 8th. And then the 2 really big ones that we do every summer, Jazz and Rib Fest in July, and then Seba Soul Fest in August. All right, let's get to some projects that are upcoming in District 8 here, particularly in this part of the district, kind of the southern part of it. So the first one to talk about is Fairwood Park. So we're going to be doing new lighting there. So construction will be finished by the end of this year with the lighting at Fairwood Park. Lincoln Park, so this is upgrades in design. We'll be adding a futsal / multi-purpose court, a walking path, and then also lighting. So we're expected to start construction in the fall of 2026 on that one. Salmons Park, also upgrades in design, such as new lighting, turf, drainage, field improvements. Construction on that will begin later this year. One that isn't on here is a replacement for the Carnes Park playground. So that will be construction, oh man, I forget. It's hard to remember them all. Forgive me, it eludes me. I actually just looked at it before coming up here, but I promise playground replacement at Carnes Park is happening soon. So, and then a couple of other ones that I wanted to mention. So Marion Franklin, as was mentioned a little bit earlier, but the pool, just clarity with the pool as well. So it is open for this season, and then construction and everything will begin after this swimming season. Then the plan is to have it open before the start of, or just in time, I should say, for the start of next swimming season. So obviously with the pool, it's really important to us to, if we can, to try to not have it be closed and not have anybody miss any swimming time. So that's the pool. And then the community center itself will be undergoing some pretty extensive renovations. So on the outside, different signage, playgrounds, lighting, things like that. And then the interior, doing some renovations to the basketball court, reception desks, some of the kind of behind the scenes things, right? Like the water system and the boilers and things like that. So, and then also upgrades for safety, and then also ADA upgrades, which of course are important as well. So a lot of good things will be happening soon at Marion Franklin. All right, and then just the last thing, couple final things. So some of the projects that I talked about, I know some of the basic details for those, but I don't know a ton of them just because I'm not on our capital and strategic planning team. But I'm happy to take your question down. If you come over, you see me at the table, maybe afterwards, and you have a question, definitely happy, of course, to be able to take that to folks and then get back to you with an answer. Okay, and then if you do have any questions at the moment, remember to jot your questions down on those cards. All right, thanks everybody.
And I just want to note, we also opened up the Fran Ryan Center, which is specifically for our seniors and our older adults. It is closer to downtown, but all of the facilities, there's art classes, there's a gym, there's all kinds of opportunities for folks to engage. It is a little further out. It's closer to downtown, but it is a place where people can find community if you are part of that aging community and want to be engaged. So with that, I'm also, for a while, this was actually one of my favorite. I was the chair of this committee before, and because we reshuffled things on council, this is something that is still near and dear to my heart. So the Central Ohio Area Agency on Aging, woo, go me for getting COAAA together. But we know, and in many of the conversations that we had, remember we talked about folks aging in place, and when we think about the resources that folks need, I mean, my mom was 85 and aging in place, and so this was an incredible resource for me and my family, and so we wanted to ensure that we brought COAAA out to talk about some of the resources that they also provide to the community that might be of a resource to you or might be of a resource to your friends and your neighbors. So with that, Grant Ames, come on, I just made your name one thing. That's great.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Councilmember. I'll go very quickly. I mostly just want to make sure folks are aware of our agency and the services that we offer. The Councilmember was right. The majority of what we do is to help folks that are nursing home level of care need to stay at home and in their communities. So we know nursing homes, while they are appropriate for some folks, may not necessarily be where everyone wants to spend the last years of their life. That's where we come in. We're an agency that helps coordinate those home and community-based services for people, whether that's meals, transportation, medical trips, in-home nursing care, all of those type of services to keep folks at home. We are the Central Ohio Area Agency on Aging, so we cover Franklin County as well as the 7 contiguous counties around Central Ohio. We're located here on the south side, on South High Street, right across the street from Great Southern, in the old Bob Evans headquarters. If you know where that is, we are in that building. So we are Southside residents ourselves as well. I'll go through this relatively quickly, but if you are not, you're either not in Central Ohio yourself or you have a family member or a loved one that isn't in Central Ohio, I always plug this. There are area agencies on aging all across the country. There are 622 of us. Every resident in the U.S. should be covered by an area agency on aging. So just type in that into Google, or if you're talking to someone, I've just talked to somebody from Indiana the other day that was looking for services, and I said, look this up and see if that's something that's available to you. So I always plug that to let folks know there are 12 of us in Ohio and 600 of us across the country. So we fund services, we provide information and assistance. Our screening department gets around 3,000 calls a month from folks that are asking questions about what services are available, whether they qualify for the services that we offer, and we get them connected with those services. We advocate for older adults and people with disabilities, and then we administer Medicaid waiver programs. So those are programs that help folks that are nursing home level of care or need assisted living to get those services as a reduced cost or free if they're qualify. So we have a screening department. If you feel like you qualify or you have a family member or a loved one that you feel like would qualify, we can screen them, make sure they meet all of the financial eligibility requirements, as well as they do require that folks do need assistance at home. So we call them ADLs, activities of daily living, or IADLs, independent activities of daily living. So those are things like getting in and out of bed, using the shower on their own, being able to cook meals for themselves, grocery shop, things like that. If they need assistance with those or they suffer from Alzheimer's disease, our services are for them, and we have those available for them. This is really small. I'll plug this. I have all of these services listed in our resource guides. I have plenty of them. I have brought about 50, so I have plenty for folks if you'd like to take them. They have a litany of information about services that are available for folks, or if you're looking for a lawyer that specializes in estate planning, if you're looking for home care services for yourself or your loved one and you don't necessarily qualify for these waiver programs, it's all in there, and I'm happy to pass those out for folks. I have plenty of them. Ooh, there we go. More services that we offer. We also work with veterans and caregivers of veterans for a program through the VA. So we've just starting that program, but it's really exciting that we'll be able to help caregivers to be paid to stay at home with their loved one that's a veteran. It's really exciting. We offer a number of wellness education classes through our agency. I have a QR code here. I also will plug going to coAAA.org. All of these offerings are listed there, but it's things like chronic disease management, matter of balance, caregiver assistance information and tools. Lots of great information there. We have a caregiver support program for folks. We know that 1 in 4 adults in Columbus are serving as caregivers to a loved one, to someone with a disability, or to a child. So we have these resources available. We have online tools to help caregivers answer questions. How do I transfer someone out of a bed is a common one that we get. We have all of those resources available on our website, as well as we offer a support group class for folks that may need peer support around that caregiving experience. Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program. I put it up here. This is a great program that offers a $50 coupon for folks that are over 60 to be able to go to a farmer's market. They take that coupon and get to buy as much produce as they want for $50. It's a really great program that we partner with the Department of Aging on and Life Care Alliance. I'm happy I can share some more information on that if folks are interested, but just a great way to get some healthy fruits and vegetables for our folks that are living in the community. We offer a housing assistance program that's funded in part by Columbus City Council. It's for folks that are 60 and over and meet 200% of the federal poverty guidelines, which is about $31,000 or under for an individual household, or about $42,000 for a household of 2. This program is mainly focused on getting folks through hardships, whether that's unexpected loss of a loved one or a spouse, a medical medical illness that requires a high, that you have a high cost for, unforeseen car repairs needed, home repairs needed, all of those type of things. I'll just ask, I'll put our contact information is on here and as well as in the resource guide. I would ask that you just give us a call and we can walk through what is available and what folks are, what we can offer for that program as well. We do a regional assessment on aging. I'll be very fast through this, but every 4 years we look at what the needs are for our community. We look at what the population concerns are and try to address those. We alter our programs and the needs for those programs based on this data. So really exciting. We're about to embark on this in the next year or so for our next iteration, and just it's been really helpful, especially for other community service or other senior service organizations to pull on this data for grants and support. Here's our contact information. Again, I'll plug our website and this resource guide for all kinds of different information about what resources and supports are available for folks that are 60 and over in the community. We do work with Franklin County Office on Aging for the senior options program as well. That program is for folks that are 50 and over and meet the eligibility requirements for that program. And they offer meals, transportation, and other services to Franklin County residents that meet that age demographic. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I know I'll have a breakout session too. So thank you all for having me.
So I want to put in a few plugs. So over here, if folks have not come by, Grant's here, but he will be in a breakout with public service. So if you're interested in going to that breakout first, if you head out these doors, you'll be directed to where that breakout will be. Alex from Rec and Parks will be in this space. I also will be in this space and out here. So folks have specific questions for me. I also want to recognize our community engagement team. So Catherine and Stefan, who are in the back, if y'all want to give a wave. Thank you. We also have outside of the rooms, we have Miss Nancy Sully, which I think many of you know, who's at the desk, and then also Josaline from the community engagement team. My aides are here, Jessica and Amaris, they're also out there. I also want to shout out the other folks who are here. So from the auditor's office, we have folks, many times folks will ask us, especially around property taxes. That is not a City of Columbus thing. That is an auditor thing. So if you have questions, please head over. There's other resources that they have here. Faces, who is our host. Many of you saw maybe the cars that we're pulling up every other Wednesday of the month. They do a food drive that is free. Folks can come in. You can learn more about the food drive. We also have Water and Power, which was AKA Utilities, who is here, who also has resources for lowering your bills. If you qualify, please head over and ask those questions. And then also we have the newly formed Commission on Immigrant and Refugee Affairs, because of our changing demographics. So if you have questions about your friends and neighbors or constituents that you represent, I know we have a lot of area commissioners here. We have Dr. Barth Shepcon, who is the chair of the commission, who's here. Dr. Barth, if you want to wave. And then also out here, we have one of our deputy chiefs from CPD is here. Deputy Chief Ali is outside. So I know that folks generally have questions about safety and other things. So he is also here to answer questions. And then last but not least, outside on the resource table that we have flyers that look like this. This is for a program from out of our office in partnership with the Neighborhood Design Center called 614 Beautiful. That is for up to $15,000 that you can get for a community-based project. So that could be a learning mural. It could be a pocket park. For some of you, if you traveled down Parsons, you might have seen the signs that kind of say, this is Parsons Avenue, it's neighborhood pride. Those sorts of projects, you can get up to $15,000. You have to be a nonprofit. It could be a church group. There's some qualifications, but you can learn more, and here's the website. Also, we can answer questions that folks may have out there, okay? Thank you all so much for coming tonight. I hope this was of value to you. Please head out here if you want to talk to public service and COAAA. Stay in here if you want to talk to Rec and Parks. Thank y'all. Have a great night.